Hello y'all, welcome to another best of 3 for the King of the Planetarian round robins. Today we got Jake versus Azure Benji. Now, I haven't seen Jatombra play too much StarCraft. I think the only games he's played has been against Chandler so far. As for Ben, we've seen Ben play a little bit a couple of years ago, but it's been a while before we've seen anything new. We're going to see both players, I think, might run into a supply cap here as they build their first supply depot, the first SCV. Jake somehow has more money than Ben by about 100. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but it has. Just gonna see a barracks coming down. Ben going for a standard wall on the ramp. Jake kind of hiding his, making it a little harder to scout. Maybe the Reaper comes up, comes through the back and doesn't see the barracks. Maybe he thinks it's proxy racks. Or maybe we just like building things in the corner. One Vestman coming down for Jake as the Vestman goes up for Ben. Both players nicely mirroring each other. Except for the money somehow. Maybe there's some sort of, no, the same amount of SCVs, same amount of supply. Second depot coming down for Jake. Oh, second and third depot queued up for Jake, actually. Gonna see. Probably queuing some, yep, 4 SCVs queued up. Looks like we're gonna see a little just on the rally and some Marines coming out. And going to get some more investment. Maybe we look to expand. Maybe we'll do second racks. Maybe we scout. Looks like we're going to expand. Very nice. So this is actually a very dangerous play. I mean, if one Reaper shows up, the Reaper can clear this Marine, kill a couple SCVs, wait for the next Marine to come out and kill it too. But both players are actually uninterested in Reapers. So, no big deal. No punish. Would be great to see an orbital starting right about now. Mule's very powerful. Offering new players that supply drop and, well, mules, of course, right? 220 minerals. Why would you say no to it? 2 more racks being queued up for Azure Benji. Very nice. Seeing command center on the low ground, same place as Jatombra. And we've got an almost identical game. The end comes Jatombra actually with a worker lead already, but it looks no, because the orbital just started. Jatombra just with a slight worker lead, giving it up now though. Both players struggling to produce workers consistently. But let's see, factories coming down, and TVT is so boring, man. They're all just sitting at home. This dude got an orbital though, no Vespin, no worker production. Scanning what though? The low ground? Oh, what? I see he's scanning for the production, but there is no production there. How unfortunate. Jatombra with some high-level mind games over here, knowing his opponent is a scanner. Could use some add-ons on any of the barracks, as Jatombra's already figured out the add-on feature. Sending 4 Marines across the map is kind of a ballsy move at 335, especially considering there could be Cyclones out by now. There could be Reapers, tanks, I mean, you name it. These Marines could be walking into anything. Fortunately, though, it looks like there's only 6 other Marines on the map, so you should pop in, see this, and walk away. It'd be very nice. Could start stim, could start combat shield, could throw down a reactor, maybe a tech lab, maybe we switch, maybe we could start getting tanks. Could start Banshees, Starport. These Marines look like they just walked into their death, and we're seeing a trade of 3 Marines for nothing. A rather unfortunate circumstance, but that's all there is. As this lone Marine makes his way back home, scarred, seeing all his allies die. A scan is going to spot absolutely everything Jake is doing, which is not much, but it'll spot it nonetheless. Could see an orbital here, would be wonderful. Could also see a low ground CC. But I think we might have, actually, we just don't have the money at this point. That's not bad at all though. Could use an orbital here. Could start pumping tanks. We didn't see any starport. Could use a factory, really, as I guess it's going up, but love to see some sort of add-on over here, too. I really don't think +1 is too important at this stage in the game, but Azure Benji would disagree with me. Love to see this orbital, but just not going to happen. With an army this large, I feel like you could almost make your way across the map, but you would just be met with the siege tank, and on this map it looks like there's actually not much room to deal damage, seeing as there's this one expansion you can move up, and without medevacs you can't really boost in here. Could use reactor tech lab, cyclone, anything. Just seeing a little bit more marine production. More supply depots. Both players actually doing a wonderful job at not getting supply capped. We haven't seen a single supply cap this game, or supply block. Armory is coming down for Jake, along with an engineering bay. I would love to see some Thors. 5 tanks queued up, 2 marines. Could use way more production. I mean, if we're queuing up this many units, why not add, 2 more barracks over here, 2 more factories, maybe a starport. Teching would be a great option as we have the money and the Vespine right now. Could also start at high ground CC if you're scared of going down to the low ground. But I guess without any information, as neither player is aware at all. Ben's actually kind of aware. He knows all of his production. He knows he's going to have more production. He should know he's safe here. I would start an expansion, especially with how many units you have. For Jatombra, I mean, with no information here, even this is a risky move. I mean, unsieging tanks, what's really protecting this? Like, 10 Marines could run in right here and just blast this command center. This tank actually does have quite a nice surface area, and if you don't have great control, it could be very hard to break this angle. Like the low ground siege tank, I would probably start a starport pretty soon, though, as Liberators are absolutely going to obliterate this army. We're seeing Concussive Shell come out on the side of Azure Benji. We're seeing almost consistent production. I'd love to see a low ground CC at this point. I mean, you have so many units, or just getting active on the map. Load up some Marines, just send the drop over, and then send the rest of your army to just park outside here. I mean, what does the man really have? 2 barracks and a factory? And he's got a tech lab. He's going to be making tanks. You can't chase your army across the map. Would also love to see constant production as we are entering similar banking scenarios with Jatombra, but we're both saving up money for, I don't know, the stock market, I guess. Heck, if I had this much money, I'd start building just high ground CCs and just floating them over later whenever I've got the workers. Build some orbitals, store up some cash. As we are seeing the first supply block this game from Azure Benji. That being said, he is at 94 supply. We're seeing 4 supply depots to go down to counter that, making sure this will never happen again. And a mule. Honestly, could have used a supply drop here, right? Free up another 10 seconds of production. Get some more workers too while you're at it. Triple starport coming down from Jatombra. Gonna be some tech labs. Looks like, huge supply depot queue up. Could be researching +2. We did get that +1 super early. Could be getting +1 for Jatombra or +1 vehicle. I like Banshees. I think they're a good call here. I think Stealth Banshees, whenever you're a new player, are super hard to deal with. Stealth Banshees, Speed Banshees, everything, man. I mean, as a Terran player, and if you're playing TVT, the only thing you're probably going to have that shoots up is going to be Marines and Vikings for a while. So, and honestly, scanning and keeping the Vikings in place requires quite a bit of precognition. I'm not quite sure either player is quite capable of yet, We're still learning how to walk right now, so anything that requires you to reach the top shelf could be a fairly difficult thing to deal with. But I think if you turtle, you have to have a plan, right? You have to have some big final army that you can control and just win the game with, right? 3 bases is a good amount of bases to just turtle and max out on, right? You can max out on like 20 battle cruisers, which we see the fusion core coming down, very nice. Love to see some battle cruisers coming in. Seeing vehicle plating weapons, he knows the Marines are coming, so armor, of course, an important upgrade. countering the +1. Azure Benji finally making his way across the map with a huge army. Looks like we've got 44 Marines, 4 tanks, 4 medevacs, and 7 Marauders. The medevacs leading the charge, of course. Very destructive unit. Could love to see a load up, and honestly, I think if I'm playing TVT at this level, I just load everything into 4 medevacs and just cowabunga it in, drop it in the mineral lines, destroy everything. Alright, we're seeing 1-1 come in. Not your normal 1-1, you're getting armor. Oh, and the fight breaks out. We're seeing the tanks siege up just now. These tanks need to siege, Benji. What are you doing? The Banshees are fighting. The tank's not sieging at all. No damage is coming in as this tank has 0 kills. We're just running into it. We could break these rocks, honestly, and siege here. We could probably even siege here and start shooting the mineral line, but instead we're going to go hold... we're gonna go back home. Honestly, after that fight, the units lost. Almost even, honestly. Not as bad of a fight as I would have expected it to be. Banshees being so vulnerable whenever they fight Marines. I mean, especially without cloak. I mean, you've made those Banshees cloaked. Would have just absolutely destroyed everything there. But instead we're seeing, well, non-stealth Banshees fight in the main army. Would love to see some Banshees fly over and harass, especially if you split them up. 1 Banshee per base, honestly. You don't even have to control them, just move them in right here, and here. It's so difficult to counter for new players. Would love to see some missile turrets coming in just to prevent drops or Banshee harass. Honestly, from both players. Some Marines going to tank some siege tank fire. Decide they don't actually want to do that and move away. Banshee's going to spot them, but are interested in killing them. You know, the price of missiles is actually fairly expensive, so wouldn't blame him if he didn't shoot anything there. Not producing any more units. I mean, what do we build production for, right? I'd love to see something queued up. I mean, other than tanks, we know our opponent has Banshees. Maybe we build some missile turrets, and maybe we build some Vikings. Marines, Thors, something that shoots up would be great. I mean, tanks are awesome, but what do you do if 6-7 tanks get caught on the map by 5 Banshees? I mean, you're just down 5 tanks, and we know producing units is the most difficult part of the game for us, right? So throwing away units honestly isn't even about the money anymore, which we have plenty of for both players. Jake going for a wonderful secret base. I love this. I would honestly be even greedier. I'd go here too. Maybe get this as a planetary, that way Marines can't run up and like mess with you. And we know Ben hates sieging his tanks on static defenses, so even the tanks can't really mess with you at that point. A Liberator would be game ending here. 3 Liberators would also be game ending, as these units don't shoot up. These units don't shoot up. The only things that shoot up are going to be 10 Marines without combat shield. They do have +1 though, and it looks like we will be starting +2 armor after we get every other upgrade available. Could just use 2 engineering bays at this point. Could lower these depots and free this man, but he will rest in his eternal prison, I believe. 2 Banshees finding a little bit more damage than they really should, as our Marines are just idling. What are we doing, Jatombra? We're watching the Banshees. We're sending our Banshees after the Banshees. They don't shoot up, Jake, no! And we're going to see not too much damage be done here. I mean, we might lose a tank or 2, but no worker damage. Not that it matters with the amount of money we're floating. I feel like if at this level, the most optimal thing to destroy is going to be production, since players seem to struggle with that already. I would say it'd be supply depots, but it seems like nobody seems to struggle with maintaining supply. The Banshee's going to fight 15 Marines. Turns out that is going to be a bad trade. Tank's going to fight 15 Banshees, also a bad idea. Jatombra, however, still just slowly getting his upgrades. Staying at home. The thing is, this army doesn't really beat any other late game army. I mean, what do you do if your opponent has 15 freaking battle cruisers? Like, +3, you have 10 Marines against it. What do you do if your opponent, I don't know, has Marines with combat shield? Like, they never have to attack into you, right? So eventually you've got to move out, so The only way I can see Jatombra winning this game at the moment is to unsiege all his tanks, pull all of his boys, and then siege up in a place that's just difficult to attack to and hope that Azure Benji keeps streaming in. However, Azure Benji could also do the same thing, as he's already got the tanks across the map. I mean, we could form a massive concave here and just keep him here for life. Banshee's still running around being an absolute nuisance. One kill each. Beautiful micro, a little bit, almost beautiful micro. I loved seeing the move and shoot. Some nice little kiting, but wrong direction. We're going to see a big A move into 4 tanks. Oh, these Marines are just going to A move and let the opponents walk away. Neither army interested in fighting after seeing the tanks go down. The horrors of war. Traumatizing them in. Gonna see a little bit of idling here, as it looks like Azure Benji's content to mine off of his bases. He believes that Jatombra is contained to these 3. Gonna start up some production. Wonderful decision. And it looks like we're going to get 15 more Banshees. Oh, we're seeing the tech labs come down. Surely this will be a massive battlecruiser transition. We see we gotta send the Marines up. Oh, okay, a little slow. Could use stem here. We're gonna lose 4 tanks, but at this point we want to throw away supply, right? Because we've got 4 battle cruisers going, you know. We're not interested in the tanks anymore. Probably could be a better way to get rid of it though than feeding it to Banshees. I mean, if we just unsiege the tanks and they move in here, we could at least kill all the bio. Maybe we could even break this, but 5 tanks is a powerful force. See, now this is how you want to trade away supply. Get a couple kills on Marines, couple Liberator range coming in for Jatombra, but we only have 2 starport. He has 2 fusion cores. Twice the battle cruisers. What? As we're seeing a mass, no battle cruisers, just Banshees. These guys love their Banshees. No fusion core either. Maybe we wanted the battle cruisers, but then we realized, who knows, maybe he saw the Banshees and decided they were OP. No stealth coming in for either player though. Stealth or Banshee speed honestly would be game ending at this point, as Jatombra has 1 orbital. That's it. Azure Benji has 3 orbitals, but not quite as many scans as Jatombra actually. And honestly, with the speed of the Banshees, sometimes even 1 scan isn't enough if you just have Marines, especially if they see the Marines coming. Azure Benji ending up with about 27 supply lead. Could probably just A move in here. He's significantly outmining his opponent in minerals. I think the Vestman might actually be fairly close for some reason. It's because neither player is mining. Excuse me. Seeing some Banshees come in, harass the tech labs. I'm not sure if you actually want to do this because your opponent's just going to keep building tanks, and that's all dead supply here. Jatombra's actually queuing up battle cruisers now. Azure Benji's still on the Banshee train. Looks like we're seeing our first battle cruisers get queued up here, but we do see no upgrades at all from Azure Benji other than that +1, which we built the early eBay for. Oh, +1 armor coming in too. I'd love to see +2, +2, +3, +3. Your Marines trade so much better when... Oh, sniping the command center. This is a ballsy move here, right? I mean, surely you just shoot the Marines first. Very nice. Even these 3 Marines are not going to be enough to deal with freaking 8 Banshees. But we're more than content to do half a command center worth of damage and 2 tanks. And that's absolutely fine. I mean, really you're just buying time for the battle cruisers to come in. You can already see all of your opponent's production and everything. You know they've got fusion cores, so they're going into the same direction as you, but you know you have 4 times to their production or 2 times their production. Oh, you would. Where'd our battle cruisers go? We just stopped making them. We've got all the money we need. Probably ran into a supply cap here. So now we're just going to throw away all of our supply and go into battle cruisers. We should be absolutely... What an unlucky time to unsiege. Oh man. The siege up is going to come in, but it's just going to be too little, too late. A massive amount of bio falling to the first volley, but outside of that, it looks like we won't get too much more. Banshee should fly up, clear this tank up at the top, as we have bio hiding in the back, which could be frontlining for our tanks, but we absolutely do not need to. But At the end of the day, Jatombra actually comes out of this with a supply lead. However, that supply lead's all going to be in Marine tanks and SCVs. Marines that have stim and don't use it, and no combat shield. Very nice. As we are just going to feed the Marines. Marines trading okay against the Banshees, actually. No ground force left here from Azure Benji means that these Marines are going to be... they're going to trade okay, but we just don't have enough. And we don't have combat shields, and we're not using stim. And we actually have +2 armor, but against Banshees it doesn't matter so much as +2 attack would. Really, against anything it doesn't. The +2 attack is such an important upgrade for Marines. And neither player... Actually, it just came in. If we were able to get this fight a little bit later, I think at this point might as well sacrifice these Marines to the Banshee gods. Right? 2 more kills might be worth it. First battlecruiser coming in from Jatombra. First 3 battlecruisers queued up from Azure Benji. No air weapons, no air armor though, means that Jatombra's battlecruisers are going to trade slightly better. But it looks like we're not going to be producing anymore. We're just going to be going into a primarily siege tank army. But we know they don't shoot up, and we know there's 6 Banshees on the map. It's just absurd. We need to shoot up. Up. But instead, we get tanks. Tanks are not the problem at this point. Tanks are good against Marines and siege tanks. But there's 6 Marines, and your opponent has 6 Banshees and 15 battlecruisers on the way. SCVs stopped mining, decided to quit their job, not interested in moving to a new location. Could be expanding here, but honestly, if money's not the problem, I don't even see why you bother expanding. So we already have 6k in the bank for Jato and 11k in the bank for Azure Benji, despite having 150 supply worth of battlecruisers queued up. Tanks making its way across the map. Battlecruisers warping in, finding an empty command center. And Marines being produced one by one. If we could throw down some reactors, we would actually have some sort of decent production. 5 racks is not a bad amount. You just need reactors. Battlecruiser's going to shoot the medevac and then make their quick escape against 5 Marines. Just so that we can continue to destroy this. Jatombra pulling all the boys, going for a massive all-in, moving across the map, going to find a command center. But we really need to hop on top of the production. The Marines are finding their way in. We need to use stim here. Siege tank, not bad. Not a bad siege, but there's going to be 3 more. The boys are going to hop on the Marines. No, they're going to hop on the siege tanks. And the Banshees are going to be able to clear them out, though, unfortunately. As their Benji's SCVs are coming in here, but they're not fighting. They're not interested in repairing either. They're just continuing their job, idly mining. They are the corporate drones of America. And Jatombra is going to call GG. Hello everybody, and welcome to game 2 of our first series for Jatombra, and I think, actually our second series for Jatombra, even our third series for Azure Benji. The tournament's actually making quite a bit of progress, honestly. I'll go ahead and throw up the results here right after this game, that way we can see the standings of all the players. As after a long game of doing not much, 3 battlecruisers came in, forcing Jatombra to all in last game, causing the score to be 1-0 to Azure Benji. Jatombra actually deciding to wall the ramp this game. Wonderful decision. Like that. Fairly important too. Not interested in investment, more interested in his second depots. The king of being not supply blocked. The master even. Azure Benji honestly opening up with pretty standard play for the first minute and 10 seconds at least. I think if you can get to the first 4 or 5 minutes of StarCraft 2 without playing, horribly, like playing semi-standard, you're honestly a fairly strong player. Especially if you can climb tech trees and expand while that happens. I mean, I know some Diamond players who all they do is cannon rush, so. A Reaper opening this time. I'm a big fan of this. Especially, we saw last game, Jatombra opening up with a single Marine, and then quite a bit later, another Marine. Nose scouting. I honestly would have opened up with two racks Reaper and punished that kind of behavior. No man should be allowed to get away without scouting. It just gives your opponents too many options, right? Especially if you're going to play a super passive build. I mean, we can do things like throw down our expansion first instead of our barracks. We can, heck, throw down 2 expansions, honestly, with the amount of time that it takes for these people to leave their bases. I'd be on 3 base and not even build a single racks or barracks or supply depot. Probably should have started an orbital by now. Jatombra's already figured it out. No muling though. Money is for losers. People who are stuck in the material world. Oh, actually, I take it back. We are stuck in the material world. Just late to realize it. Would love to see some more employees go into this Vespin Geyser. We're seeing Azure Benji with a 5 worker lead actually. Should only get a 2 worker lead from skipping the orbital. 2 Reapers making their way across the map. Gonna find these Marines isolated and probably pick them off one by one. Or we can go straight into the command center, or straight into the main base. They definitely spotted this Marine as they went up. Don't think it was not a decision to spare them. Gonna see the first SCV go down. No factory's gonna be coming up. You need to pull the boys at this point and the Marines. These Marines need to come together as individual Marines against 2 Reapers, which is simply not going to be enough. Need to pull the boys right now. They can't attack. They've got drills. They've got their reinforced spines. It's some tanky mugs. Need to send a man back to the barracks. Need to send a man to the factory. But probably should start a second orbital. Raise the depots, raise the walls. It doesn't really matter against the Reapers, but it does force them to at least jump up and limit their points of access. We're not going to see this barracks finish, unfortunately. We're not going to see the workers go back to mining. I'm sure the mental head of Jatombra is fairly brutal right now, thinking about how far behind we are, but we got to get refocused. Got to send the boys back ASAP. Every second is a second we lose out on having workers at all. Instead, we're going to go ahead and mule, but we're not going to mine with the mule because the mental is too cracked. We gotta piece it back together. That we can, even if we're living the Chungus life, the slow life of gluttony, we must get refocused. We need to mule. We need to send the boys back. We need to focus up, build buildings. What are we doing? We're building Marines out of 1 barracks. Okay, nice to see the tech lab go down, but okay, and we're back to mining after about a minute. Back to building the barracks. Need the factory to come up too. This is probably more important than anything. Well, other than putting the workers back in the mine, that was probably the most important thing. Surely we see the factory now. We're like, hey, I remember what I was doing. Nope, we're going back to the barracks. Maybe we could combat shield or stem. This is where Benji's at home, just expanding, building some Marines, getting his stem pack. Getting his +1 again. I wonder if we'll see +2 this time. Factory, love it. But still 1 orbital command. I mean, come on, man. This is so much money you're missing out on. It's not like you have to pay for mules. So 1 orbital command from Jatombra. No research being done in the tech lab. The tech we got was Marauders, but we're not interested in any of the upgrades or anything. Second factory coming in. This is almost enough production to be an all-in. I'm a big fan of all-ins. We're actually only down 3 workers somehow, despite our opponent being up base and only having 1 orbital at the end of the day. So the income's not so heavily favored in Azure Benji's favor. I mean, it is in his favor, but not by a massive amount. As we're seeing him play with about half the production of Jatombra. Tech lab. Oh, no, 3rd tech lab. Interesting. No concussive shells, no stem pack, and no combat shields, despite having 3 reactors. I guess if you're going to be producing this many Marauders, the combat shield's probably not too important. We didn't see him use stem pack, so honestly, that's probably not too important either. But concussive is always good. Maybe we start building some tanks. I'd love to see some Cyclones, honestly. Fastly. Oh, Ninja expand. Again, I like it. Could be throwing down some depots. We are going to run into a small supply block otherwise, but we do have enough energy to where we can even airdrop a supply depot. But looks like we'll be more than content to sit at home, build up our army, and eventually move across. Medevac, 3 medevacs queued up. I don't understand why we don't build a reactor at this point. I mean, if we're building so many medevacs, we might as well just throw down a reactor too, no? Jatombra actually spending almost all of his money, only floating 500. But we are at a supply cap, so this will likely change soon. And as we realize we're at a supply cap, we're going to queue up 16 depots. And wait, I guess. Yep, supply depot's almost done. I was about to go back to playing the game. Would love to see an orbital here. At this point, we could honestly drop 4 mules if we had an orbital here. Plus the one the zone would get whenever it's done. Might even put the income in our favor. Workers being produced, but not here. Blue flame coming in. Maybe we're going for some sort of Hellion attack? I love the idea of playing mech. Just pure mech in every TVT. Play the most boring games in the universe. Just go around with Hellions, torching Marines and SCVs. I mean, it's so hard to hold these bases if you don't have a tank, and especially against mech. Like, what is a Marine going to do against a blue flame Hellion other than cry? And fight in large numbers, I mean. But against run-bys, very hard to play against. Especially since Azure Benji doesn't really ever leave any tanks at home. I mean, almost every time we move out, we see him take his whole army with him. So 2 Hellions to each base whenever he moves out would be game-ending, honestly. As we see our 3 medevacs come out, we've got 3 tanks, we've got 16 Marines-ish, 4 Marauders, 6 Marauders, 25 Marines. I'm not close at all. Seeing a scan coming from Jatombra, wanted to, I don't know what this scan is for, honestly. See how many supply depots his opponent's built. Oh, another scan. Counter scanning. This is actually a really good scan. It does pick up the whole army. I would say in this map you always want to scan right to where you can see the low ground, because that's where you're going to see the most army units idling. 4th base for Azure Benji. Doesn't actually realize he's only 1 base ahead. Jatombra could just turtle here. We've seen Azure Benji sacrifice his units into tanks before without sieging up outside of their range. I wonder if there's players aware of the fact that tanks can siege outside of each other's range if they don't have vision. Probably not. Jatombra really fortifying this high ground. I'm not so sure we have to worry about this. This Bioforce is going to stem in here, try to target the tanks, but meanwhile you're just getting clobbered by the small Bioforce down here. Not going to be enough though. 3 tanks going to unsiege. Maybe they move up to the ramp and re-siege. Need to siege probably right about now. Probably a little bit earlier. Need to stem if we have it researched, we're just not using it. And I think this is going to be GG. So I can't think of any way that Jatombra could possibly get out of this scenario. Oh, we're pulling all the boys to fight. And GG is called. Look at that. Well played. With this, we're going to see Jatombra ending up 0-2 for 2 games, and Azure Benji coming in at 2-2. This actually puts Azure Benji in the 2nd place, if no one else plays any games by the end of the King of the Hill, or King of the Planetarium round robin. Very nice.